Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining our webinar this morning. Today, we're going to talk about TAPS, which is our turnaround progressing system. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the new features that TAPS has and how TAPS can help make turnarounds and shutdowns more successful and more efficient. You will be muted for the duration of the presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to either put them in the questions section or in the chat, and we'll make sure we get them answered for you at the end of the session. My name is Ian Nicholson. I'm VP Solutions here at Emerald Associates. I've got a number of years of international experience. I work in risk and in turnarounds, and I've worked in a number of different industries over my career. Joining me today is Mary Lynn Backstrom. Mary Lynn's one of our implementation specialists, and she has about 30 years project controls experience, and she does a lot of turnaround support work with our clients. So let's talk about the challenges that shutdowns and turnarounds face. The first one is that while your plant is down, you're not making any money. You're spending a huge amount of money per hour on labor, and therefore there's high management visibility to what's going on the turnaround. On top of that, we have aging plants that require more repairs. They perhaps need technical upgrades. There's CapEx tie-ins that have to be done. These things lead to longer shutdown turnaround cycles. So there's a big push to do a larger turnaround in a shorter time. And the reality is it's getting harder to find resources to do those turnarounds. A typical planner scheduler for one of our clients is dealing with a turnaround with 80,000 tasks, 1.2 million man hours of work, and it all has to be done in 35 days. That's pretty crazy compared to what people do, say, in the capital projects world. So what do we need to make this successful? Well, one of the key things that we need is we need fast, accurate updates to our schedule. We need to be able to do proper earned value reporting to management so management knows what's going on. We need to be able to track canceled work in a timely manner. One of our clients told us to cancel one activity took 5 minutes in their schedule, and 5 minutes is something you really don't have when you're dealing with a turnaround. We need time to do analysis. So instead of making our schedulers into data entry clerks, we need to give our schedulers time to analyze and understand what's going on in the schedule so they can report to management areas of concern. So TAPS helps with all of these things. Let's talk about some of the benefits that you get from TAPS. So TAPS lets you get information into your P6 system much faster than you could do manually. Instead of searching for activities, manually clicking a bunch of dialog boxes and entering dates, TAPS lets you do all of that with a simple scan of the barcode. TAPS lets you use less skilled resources to do the inputs. So all of these things really help in terms of getting your updates done. So let's talk about how it works. So the first thing is TAPS can be local, or it can be in the cloud, or it can be a mobile version. So we have all these different options to make sure that TAPS will work in your environment. It doesn't matter whether you're on premise, you're in the cloud, you want to use a mobile device, TAPS will work with all of those things. So the first thing that we do is we generate our work reports. Now those work reports can either be paper-based if you're using classic TAPS, or they can be sent out to a mobile device if you're using TAPS Mobile. Now the idea here, though, is that we're going to split this up by who has to do the work. So they're typically called foreman schedule or look-ahead schedules. And the idea here is to use a report that you would otherwise use, but add a small barcode to that report so that you can actually do your updates directly. So in addition to the standard report, we then have a percentage report. Now this percentage report can be as busy as the one on the left with 5% increments all the way up to 100, or you can decide that you only want to report certain percentages. A lot of times our clients say, you know what, I don't really care whether it's 25 or 30% done. I'm going to report 25, 50, 75. 99% are done. So you have those options to put whatever you want on the scan report with more detail or less detail. You can also put in that you want to complete an activity. So when you complete it, it will be marked as 100% and completed in P6. You can remove an activity from your scans. If you scan one in error and you don't want to progress it, you can just remove it. And finally, there's one there that says cancel, and that allows you to actually cancel that activity, which means that it'll be marked as completed, it'll be zeroed out so there's no hours earned, and but it won't be deleted from the schedule. So it's still there, so all of your baseline numbers still work. It will set activity codes or UDFs if you like to flag that this was a canceled activity, and it does all of that automatically for you. Now, when those reports come back in from the field, they're typically all beat up and written on. What we can do then is we just have to scan the barcode for the activity and then scan the percent complete. So instead of having to go in P6 and type Control F and type in the activity ID, go and click started, and then a percent complete, all we have to do is 2 scans of the barcode scanner, one for the activity, one for the percent complete. As you scan things in, TAP shows you what it's collecting on the screen, so you can review the progress before you submit it. You can also choose to run an out-of-sequence report when it's done, dissolve logic on canceled activities, update milestones that are linked. All these things can be done on the TAP screen, and when you're happy, you can hit Save Progress, and it all gets written into P6, ready to reschedule and run your reports. Once it's in P6, the progress is all there. As I said, you can go ahead and run your reports, get everything ready. One of the things that it also does for you, though, is it also, as it does the entries, it does calculations for earned value at the resource assignment level. Now, one of the things that people have been complaining about, probably since the day P6 came out, was that it only does earned value at the activity level. So TAPS will also do earned value at the resource assignment level, which is much better for reporting progress in the turnaround environment. Now that you've got everything in, it's easy to run dashboards, and we have a separate webinar for people who are interested on how you can use dashboards to report progress rather than paper-based reports. These are what we call green up reports that go from being red to green as progress is made. They go red, yellow, green as you progress through, and they summarize many pages of data in P6 into a single page that you can give to managers. We all know that managers love red, yellow, green reports. So I'm going to turn over to Mary Lynn, and she can take a look, or she can show you, sorry, so you could take a look. And she's going to show some of the new features that are available in the tool, and we're going to talk about TAPS Classic, and we're going to talk about TAPS Mobile.
Okay, I didn't get the little box to click to take it.
Yeah, give me 1 second here.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. I just didn't know if you'd already sent it.
I thought I did, but I didn't. So there you go.
Thank you. Okay, let's have a look at what TAPS actually looks like. So what I'm going to do is share my screen. Okay, before we go into actually putting updates in here, I just wanted to have a look at the little sample file that we have here to use. So in P6, of course, everybody's familiar with your typical schedule. You've got your Gantt chart, your activity table. Now, what we've got is just a small sample of pieces really of what would be in a very large turnaround schedule. But if we need to go and update something manually, Well, of course, you can create the layout the same as the report that you give out to people. That is fine in theory, but a lot of times you end up with your screen similar to what I have in front of me, and I need to go and find the activity. Well, I need to, for example, click in activity ID, go into find, and maybe I'm looking for something that's got pre in the activity ID. Now, that one was fairly simple, but if you have to do that for every activity you have to update, it's very time consuming, and for your users, of course, very frustrating. So what we want to do here, I found the activity. I need to update it. Well, I need to go to my activity details, of course, and in this case, we're just going to start it and complete it. So one tab. However, if you're doing it a partial update, it's not finished for this particular window, you may have to visit more than one tab in the activity details. So what I'm going to do is just start this. Try to start it anyways. I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, just bear with me a second. I think I have a refresh issue here. I'm just going to hit refresh. Okay, so we want to start it and finish it. And by the way, that's not a TAPS thing. That's just my laptop having attitude here. So I've updated one activity. Now let's go have a look at putting an update in using TAPS. And as Ian mentioned, there is clients that we have at Emerald that what they have realized, of course, is you don't, number one, have to log into P6 to put updates in using TAPS. That's interesting. There we go. So when we log into TAPS, let's look at what Ian referred to as TAPS Classic first. In other words, logging in on the computer using barcodes to do our update. So TAPS does have a new look. You can see right away. This is the login screen. So just let me log in here. Now, once we get into TAPS, if I'm scanning in a set of updates for this shift, for example, first I'm going to go in and set my update date and time. I can just click and I'll leave it at, I can set it at today, but actually this particular file, the updates were given wasn't for today, but you could use today. So I'll go back to June 11th, 8 a.m. That's the ones we'll be putting in, but it could be any point in time that you need. So you need to tell the software what is your update date, of course. I've got the 11th of June, excuse me, at 8 a.m. Now, update milestones, you'll notice this is on by default. I really like this option because I've been on so many turnarounds where they were not using TAPS. And one of the checks, of course, after everybody had all their updates in was for all the updates that happened on the activities, do we need to go in and update some more milestones? Did somebody miss milestones? Because we all know you have got high-level milestones that are looked at in management reports after every shift, as they should be. And the last thing you want is to have all the activities updated and the poor milestone is sitting out there with no update against it. So of course, causes all sorts of headaches when it comes to the milestone report. Run out of sequence report, where we will see that. We've got dissolve cancel activities logic. That's an option you can put on. So when you cancel your activities, when it does come up that you need to, it will dissolve the logic on those activities. So we'll look at that in just a few minutes here. First of all, let's go in and put in an update. So I've got a couple of updates that are going in for the first round. The first one is just very simply, for first activity I'm updating, they're telling me on the report it's 75%. and I've got a remaining duration of 4. And by the way, you can scan the remaining durations as well. So you can type them in as well if you need to, but you've got both options. So you can just keep on scanning. So the next one I'm going to update is using steps. And yes, you can update steps also with barcodes. If you've had any experience updating steps, you'll appreciate right away how tedious updating steps can be in P6 right out of the box. So if I go in and I scan my step, now I can actually update the steps themselves. So in this case, they're telling me all 4 steps are complete, but I can put percentages in here as well. So I can just go step for step, and I could be scanning whatever the update is for them. They're all done. It is that easy doing it through the barcode updates. So what we want to do now is, of course, let's have a look at what does it look like when we send this back over to P6. So I'll just save the update. And I've got an out of sequence. And at this point, of course, I can go in and I can fix that issue. For what we're going to do, I just want to go back right at this point, have a look at what does it look like in P6. So I'm just going to say back here and just leave this running in the background. We'll come back and look at another update in just a minute. But in the meantime, let's have a look at what we've already sent over to P6. So I'm just going to P6. And of course, initially it looks like, okay, not a lot has happened here. Let's just hit F5 and make sure we're seeing everything. So we did 2 activities, SD110. That one is complete. And if we go over to our steps, here's our steps all completed for us. And if I can grab the bar there, and you can see they're all completed. Now, if I go to SD120 and back to the status tab, this is the one that we said 75% complete, remaining 4. So our update has gone through exactly as we've told it to. Now, just be aware we're going back and forth, of course, into P6 to check what this looks like. But you could have somebody that is in TAPS and just doing the scanning, checking the scans, and sending them over. And at that point, it can be turned over to a scheduler. They schedule at that point, and then they start doing their analysis. So really, it gets your updates in extremely fast. And at that point, you've got more time for the analysis, which we all know is where you get the best return on your investment. So if I went back into P6, I can actually schedule this now because first 2 updates, everything's just getting started. So I'm good with rescheduling this, and I could go in and schedule this. And then go and do the reports, the analysis, everything I need to do. But I can also, at this point, if I've put my updates in, I've done my reports, we'll kind of time forward to where we need to put another set of updates in. So let's go back to TAPS. And we've got the 11th of June, 8 a.m. Well, we've gone through another shift, so let's make this 8 p.m., for example. Same idea, we can change these defaults if we need to, but this time things are getting off to a little more happening on our project. So we've got some more updates to put in. So I'll just go through the updates that I've gotten from the field. First activity, they're telling me has been completed. Second activity, they're telling me is 25%. And you'll notice as they come up on the screen, There will be some that are not duration. Now, I realize most of the ones in turnarounds are duration, but just be aware that if you need to use something else, either in your turnaround schedule or in another schedule you may be using taps on, because we do have clients using it on other than just turnaround schedules, because it's basically an updating tool. You can update duration, units, physical, it will do all of them. So I'm just doing the next one here, and that one is also 25%. So we've put in four activities already, pretty quick and easy. I've got just a few more here. This one is 100%. I've got another one completed, I should say, not 100%. Now I have an activity that the field is telling me 99%. Now, this is something that does happen quite a bit, because you will be getting field reports usually a little before the end of the shift, that type of thing. So they're putting it at 99%, thinking, okay, the next shift is going to verify that it's actually done and bump it up to 100. But in the meantime, you want to be able to actually put it at 99. So I've got one that is completed, and I have just a couple more here. I have one that is from our first update here. You'll notice it was 75%. So now if I need to progress that farther, just they're telling me it's complete, I just scan complete. I have one coming up right now, SD 130. This, as I said, physical percent complete. So I can just scan 75% physical. You'll notice that it's highlighting, telling me it needs more information. So what I'm going to do in this case is, I did say that you can go in and you can actually type information in here. So if I wanted to do that on this one, I can say remaining 8, and the software is fine with it, and I can carry on. So you have a lot of different options in getting your updates in there. SD 140 is units percent, and this particular one is 50%. And they're using duration 50% just as an example of another way you can get the updates in there. Now, I do have one other update I want to put in here. And this particular one, we just wanted to give you an example of this last activity I need to update. It is using resource scanning. So I can actually status resources using barcodes. So that's what we'll do here. Just got a couple of resources on here. So if I scan a resource code, you'll notice it lets me use barcodes to update that as well. And again, you can scan in actuals, remaining, whatever you need to do in there. For this particular laborer, what they're telling me is that one is complete. You'll notice it as soon as it says the resource is complete, the activity is in progress. And oops, my pipe fitter, I can say 50% complete, or I can go in and say canceled, whatever I need to do with that. So you've got just a few examples here of what types of updates that you can put in. So let's send that over to P6 and just have a look at some of that particular information, what it looks like in P6. First of all, of course, all I need to do is just hit save. And I am going to get out of sequence. And there's my out of sequence, which normally you would be going back to check this. I knew there was out of sequence coming up just because of the sequence of updates that we put in here. But you can see it gives you all the information you need. You can go back and check and make sure that your updates are 100% complete all the time. So for now, I'm just going to say back. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to log out of here, because the next update we'll look at TAPS Mobile. But just before we do that, let's have a look at the updates in P6. Well, so far you can see we're only seeing the updates in the first two because I haven't refreshed yet. And one point I should have brought up when we were in here last time, you'll notice that with the first two activities updated, I have a start milestone here that I never scanned in. That's that option at the top that is on by default to update, milestones for us. That took care of this. So that's one thing, as I said before, I really like because it takes another check off the list. And as Ian was saying, when you're doing turnaround updates, you want to make sure that you've got the majority of your time, you want to have it focused on analysis and get the information out to the people that need it. So I'm going to refresh and we'll see a number of other updates, of course, go in because we scanned in a few. So you can see, of course, that we've got a whole number of other activities here that now have the progress that we put in. So if we go and look at, well, any one of them really, but if I go to, for example, this is the one we updated with resources. So if we go in and look at the updates, and it looks like I might have a slight refresh issue happening here. But it will carry your actuals for your resources across as that one did. Now we looked already at steps, so you can update steps. You can go in and you can update each one of these particular activities. You need to just decide what's the best way to update as you normally do, and you can do it with taps. It's got your back on all of that. So from there, what I would like to do is have a look at a new piece of functionality. Now, we did log into what Ian referred to as classic taps. Now let's have a look at what mobile looks like. And this is really easy to use. Now, a lot of people might think, well, exactly where would I use mobile? Well, it could crop up in a lot of different scenarios, but the idea is, of course, if you are in a meeting or if you're out doing walk downs on a job, that type of scenario, and you're in a situation where you can safely use your cell phone, but you don't have your computer with you or you don't have the ability to connect your computer up. You don't necessarily have to be writing down everything and remembering to put it into your schedule when you get back. Instead, what we can do here, and I'm just going to hit refresh because this has been logged in for a bit, is this is what the login screen on, for example, your cell phone would look like. Oops, click in there first. Now, again, it's going to ask for the update date. As we're going to put it to the same file, I'll just go back to the 11th of June. But of course, you can put it in today's, you could be putting in today's, last night's, whatever the case is. Just make sure you set the right update date and time and you're away. So what I can do here is I could set this. This could be a carryover. You could be putting more updates in from the night day shift, which is going in at 8 p.m. at night. It could be more activities for that particular update. Now, once you've set that date, you'll notice how quick that dialog box closes. We can go and check and see what's in there, make sure we've got it set the way we want it to be. So you can simply go up to the top left corner and I've got settings here. So I can see what it's set at. If I need to change it, I could go in and change it, but we're fine with what's in there. Now I've got update milestones, run out of sequence reports. So you can see these options come up for the most part the same as they do on the computer. Now, first of all, I'm going to enable dissolve canceled activities logic because we will cancel one activity. There's another section here. you might be looking at these percentages and thinking, you know what? There is some I'm going to need to use that aren't on this list. What do I have to go through to get them on the list? Well, for example, if you think you might be using 99% and that's not on here, I'll show you how easy it is to add 99%. It's done. It is that easy. So if I needed other percentages, I can just type them in. For example, if for some reason I needed 65%, same idea, it's that easy. So you can add in the percentages that you need. Once you've set your options, just click Save. Save successfully, we can go to the activities. So setting the options and getting the percentages in there you need really couldn't be much simpler. So let's go to activities. Now, in activities, you'll notice that it's saying configure a filter to view activities. Well, it does hold the last one that you used. So let's go and look at what that is. We'll clear it out and create one so that you can see how easy that works. Okay, so I'm going to take these two options out. To set up your configuration for the activities, you can set filter by. To do that, I simply hit the drop down. These are the pieces you have a choice of using. Do you want project code? Do you want the project activity code or by date? I'm going to filter by project because I have access to more than one project. I just click the drop down and right to the bottom, this is the file that I'm looking for. Now, I could put other options, other conditions in there, filter conditions as well. For this, I'll just use the project as the identifier. Now I've got a sort by. I'm going to click in there. Now you've got the option of project code, activity field. I'm going to go with activity field. Now you'll notice it defaults to start date, that's reasonable. But for what I'm going to do here, I'm going to choose another one. I'm just going to click the drop down and I'm going to go to activity ID and I'm going to apply it. So if this is the filter and sort criteria we're good with, we just apply this and there's our activities. So setting up the original configuration, setting up your options is not a long, tedious task. And as I said, it will hold the configuration for the activities you want to look at unless you go in and you change it. You tell it, okay, something's changed. It's always going to come up and confirm the data date because of course the software knows that the data date normally changes. But for the filter and sort for your activities, you can set it up. It's stored in the configuration as you saw, and you could just say apply it and go forward from there. So let's go in and first of all, look at how the activities are listed in here. I've got the activities. If I want to update any of the activities, I can do it right from here. But I can also scroll through the list. So depending on how many you've got available, if I want to go in and I want to update a particular activity, let's go to 30 first. I can update, as I said, from here, but I can click this drop down. That gives me additional information for this activity. So if you want to come in here and check after you've put the update in, or if you want to put the update in from here, either way is going to work fine. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cancel this particular one. So this is the one that I want to cancel. So that's our 0030 activity. Now, there is another activity, and I can roll this up once I've got the update. It holds the update. I can go in and put more in. So I've got another activity that I need to status in here as well. So I'm going down to 070. Now, in this case, percent complete on this particular one. This particular one is complete. So I just need to hide that bar because actually I should just scroll down. That would have been smarter. So what I need to do is go to 070 is the next one. And this particular one I need to complete. If I want to look at what that does to the rest of the information, you can see changes status to complete in the bottom. But if you're okay with just seeing the roll up, it will go through the updates like that as well. So I have one more that I'm going to send an update across to, and that is 030. And this particular one, they're telling me is 50% complete. So again, if I want to look at the details, this one is 50% complete, and you'll see it's units percent. So if I want to make sure my update is complete, same as we saw on the other screen, I've got all the information in there. So this particular screen works very similar to in the computer side in Classic, scanning in the barcodes. So now at this point, what I can do is click Save, and it will send it into P6. Still gives me my out of sequence report, which is awesome because then I can go back and fix what I need to fix. Now, so as we don't run out of time here, I'm not going to worry about fixing this. We did this on purpose so you would have an out of sequence report. So I'm just going to click back here. Now, if I need to put more updates in, I can. In this case, I can basically log out of here. Takes you back to the screen we logged in with. So on that note, let's go back to P6 and let's have a look at these particular updates. So first of all, I need to refresh. Now you'll notice as soon as I refreshed, you can see right away, as soon as my computer displays it properly. My apologies about that. So you can see here the activity that we canceled. Well, that becomes extremely easy to identify in P6. And I find myself this very, very helpful because you do want all the information, if you can, to stay in your project, because at the end of the day, all the information you need for reporting is coming from one source. I've worked a number of turnarounds where at the time, what the companies were doing is pasting the canceled activities to another project. Fair enough, except things would happen. People are really, really busy. They're in a hurry. You would have cases where people would cut and paste them to the other file. There would be open-ended logic that had to be cleaned up, all sorts of things like that. So this just makes it nicer, faster, cleaner for you. So this particular one is canceled. You can see that in the title. Now, if we go into, for example, and bear with me a second, I do have another layout that is going to show us the cancel piece a little better. Now you can see that I've got a layout here and I've got cancel fields that are being populated, showing here at the activity level. So it's keeping information from what was in that particular activity, which can be very, very handy. Now, you also have in the resource piece, whoops, I shouldn't have taken it down quite that far, my apologies. So if we're looking at the activity level, we've got a flag that we can use for filtering, by the way. We also have a cancel flag at the resource level. Now, we've got canceled information in this particular activity. So anything that has been canceled, we can go ahead and have a look at what's actually gone on with that particular piece. Now, we did also put through other updates. So if we go in and we look at, for example, excuse me, earned value, now you'll see that at the activity level, we have got earned value cost earned value labor units here. So as P6 always does out of the box, you're going to have that information. However, what you want to be aware of, and what Ian was mentioning, something that is very, very handy is we can actually go in and have a look at the resource level. Now, in the resources, there's a lot of different pieces of information. Well, you have user-defined fields in here that are holding earned value information in here as well. So you've got it at both sides of it. Now, the other piece to be aware of here is the fact that if I go into resource assignments, this is where it's going to show up even better for you. So this particular one, this layout is showing you canceled at the resource level. Now you can run TAPS earned value at the resource level as well. So if I go in and I bring up the layout that has the TAPS earned value, TAPS earned labor, and earned cost. So you can go in and you can fashion all sorts of different reports depending on what your requirements are, but we can see where we've accomplished different pieces. And again, my apologies, my machine decides to have a little attitude about refreshing every so often. But earned value, for example, here's your earned value labor units, and this particular one is pipe fitter on this activity. So you've got it at the resource level. So you can go and pick out whatever type of reports. Maybe some of these resources come from all the same, for example, subcontractor. I've been on turnarounds where I've had to run that type of information so that they could track how each one of their subcontractors is doing. This makes it very easy, even if you've got a couple of subcontractors maybe working on a large activity. Now, I see we're getting a little short on time here, so there is one more thing I want to mention to you. So in P6, when you're updating with TAPS, you've got earned value down to the resource. You can easily cancel activities. So you've got the cancel information is in there as well. So we did look at a layout to see that information. Don't forget, you can connect P6 to reporting. So if I want to create a snapshot, for example, EP Data Warehouse is a tool that will allow you to snapshot your project. So basically, when I've done my updates, what I need to do is go to the project level, and you can see I've got a layout here that gives me the fields I need to do that. So for example, if I wanted to re-snapshot this after I've put all my updates in here, basically all I have to do is go in and click go, just make sure the rest of the information is as you need it, and go through and it will snapshot the information. Now, once we've got the information snapshotted, this can be directly connected to, for example, BI reports, and we can go in and look at the information differently than what you would have access to right out of the box in P6, because everybody likes, of course, graphics, things like that are going to give you the information nice and quickly, very, very clearly. And I've got a fail on that, but I do have another one sitting in the background because we're a little short on time here. So I will go to that one and just show you what that piece looks like. So if we go into our report here, for example, this is canceled budget and remaining hours. Now, this is just run off a copy of the same file we were looking at. So you can connect this information and you can see canceled hours 200. Now, this is by snapshot. So depending on what snapshot, I've got the same file has a previous snapshot. And you can choose what snapshot you want to look at. And I can go to hours by WBS. So by WBS element, I can see my canceled hours. Now, I can go by activity as well, but if you've got a lot of activities in your project, it is going to give a fairly big list. But one that I find is extremely helpful as well is canceled hours by resource. This one I find very, very helpful. So if you are getting your resources underway, or maybe you're halfway through execution, it's always very handy to know, okay, how many hours did I have yesterday versus something's been canceled in this last update, or something new's been added. You can create reports to give you that as well, but you can see very, very easily how many hours out of the total for pipe fitters has been canceled and how many hours out of the total itself. And this is just, like I said, a little sample one. So just to give you an idea, some food for thought, because this can be directly connected, like I said, to the snapshots. So on that note, I will turn it back over to Ian, who can wrap it up for us.
Thanks, Marilyn. Okay, so we've done a bit of a deep dive into taps there. I hope you found some things that are interesting. There's a lot of different things that we covered in that. So keep in mind that depending on what your need are or your need is, you can turn things on or off. So for example, if you don't need mobile, you can just use the regular taps. If you don't need resource updates, you can just update at the activity level. So we have a lot of flexibility in the tool. So let's talk about some of the benefits that people find using taps. So the first one is that people save a lot of time. So we've had clients tell us that they're saving 75% of the update time during the turnaround. One comment that one of the schedulers made was that having the team be able to wake up at 5 instead of 4 made a big difference as they went through the turnaround. Another person said that TAP saved them 600 grueling hours. And really the idea here is we're trying to reduce stress. We all know how stressful it can be when you're in a shutdown or turnaround and things aren't going well and you're trying to get reports out and you're running behind and you're trying to print things and the printer jams and you can just feel the tension go up in the room. So we're trying to take away some of the stress, some of that frantic data entry that has to be done, make it easier and let people do a better job, and even decentralize it so people don't all have to be in one place to do the updates. People using mobile can update from out in the field, or they can update from whatever trailer they happen to be working in. So again, just trying to make it easier for people to do a better job. For management, the real benefit is accuracy. You get better data in a more timely manner. And because of the earned value calculations, you get better visibility as to what's going on. It lets us do better resource management because we've got better accuracy of what's going on so that we can really understand what our crew is doing. And of course, it helps us understand things like out of sequence activities that might not be properly being tracked. And it lets us do earned value by resource or by craft, which is a huge benefit when you're trying to look at where things are going well and where things are going poorly on your turnaround. Some of customer feedback that we've heard from some of our clients. We get a lot of people talking about taps by word of mouth. We get people who tell us that they move from one plant to another, and they find that taps isn't at the new plant. So then we get a phone call saying, "Hey, we've heard about this tool. Can we use it?" So we get a lot of word of mouth type referrals for this tool, which is great. People often say that it's paid for itself several times. It's not an expensive tool when you consider what you're paying to hire schedulers and have them do data entry. Some of our clients, we've got clients all over the world using TAPS. A few of them are listed here. Again, we have clients in a number of different industries: petrochemical, energy generation, nuclear, all these different industries, and they all use TAPS for their shutdowns and turnarounds. A little more detail on one of our clients, Suncor Energy. Suncor is a very large Canadian integrated energy company based, as we are, in Calgary, Alberta. They actually had their scheduler or scheduling team coming in at 4 a.m. in order to get their updates ready for 7 a.m. They were finding it very difficult in a competitive market to hire schedulers and then have them all come in at 4 a.m. The updates were done at 7, and then there wasn't a lot of work for them to do for the next few hours because they had such a big team that they brought in. And what they found is they can run with a smaller team, keep them, have them come in a little bit later, get all the updates done, have more time to do analysis, and it just works out as a more balanced setup because they're not frantically trying to do data entry. They use TAPS at all their refineries. Some of the refineries even have the foreman do their updates, and some of them have data entry clerks do their updates. So originally it was all done by the schedulers using TAPS, but now they've actually pushed it out to other people. And one of the nice things is that one of the plants that they eventually sold to HollyFrontier introduced TAPS to that company, and now they use it in all their facilities as well. Nova Chemicals is another one. Nova Chemicals has plants all over North America. They make polystyrenes. They had a couple turnarounds went badly. They found it was very difficult to get their updates done on time. And they found that it was taking much more manpower than was practical to get their updates done and to get things, to get the progress entered and out to the field in a timely manner. So they used TAPS and it solved a lot of their issues. Okay, we'd like to open it up for some questions. You can put in, excuse me, you can put in any questions that you might have either in the chats or in the question section. There was a question here about putting in different percentages. So yes, you can put any percentages in that you want into TAPS. It's not possible to put a range of percentages in. That was a question because P6 won't take a range unless there's a specific example you can give us, we can talk about. But usually when people are doing the turnarounds, they don't care that much about whether you're 60% or 65%. They just want a number that's approximately right. One of the questions that we get quite often as well is, well, how does TAPS calculate when something starts? Well, what we do is when you mark an activity as started, TAPS calculates the start date from the current update date. So if I said that the activity, it's a 4-hour activity, and that activity is at 50%, TAPS will say, okay, it's 7 a.m. right now. It'll say, okay, you must have started 2 hours ago in order to be 50% complete, and it'll put that in as the actual start. If you put the actual finish in for a completed activity, TAPS will use the update time as the completed time. So if you want to go in and enter exactly when something started and finished, you can do so using manual entry in TAPS just by clicking in the field and updating whatever date and time you want. If you don't really care, you just care where you're at in the turnaround, TAPS will do that auto calculation for you. And since most people are doing updates once or twice a day, the amount of error introduced by letting TAPS do it is actually very small. Some of the other questions that we typically get, I'm going to go through some standard questions. And again, feel free to enter any that you might have. What kind of scanners do we use? We use 2D barcode scanners for TAPS. They're just the symbol scanners, Motorola symbol, or Zebra as they call them these days. Scanners, they're about $200 a piece. For TAPS Mobile, do we support Android and iOS? Yeah, we support both. It actually runs off a web server, so it doesn't actually matter what platform you're on. You could also be on a Windows tablet, and you could use TAPS Mobile on that as well. How is TAPS different than Team Member? Well, the first thing is that Team Member, which is a Primavera product, is a great tool, but it's very much designed for major projects. So there's too many clicks in Team Member to make it a great tool for turnarounds and shutdowns. So it's great for major projects where you've got a smaller number of updates to do, and you can enter more detail, maybe take some pictures of what's going on, all that sort of thing. And so you can, so as I said, Team Member's good in that environment, but it's just too slow to do data entry in a shutdown turnaround situation. Can we use TAPS for major projects? You can, it will work for that, but we have another tool called CAPS, C-A-P-P-S, for capital projects, which is more like Team Member and is a little more effective in that environment. How effective is TAPS for out-of-sequence activities? When you run the out-of-sequence report in TAPS, it will show you exactly the same thing that you would see in P6 if you looked at the schedule log with the out-of-sequence. The nice thing with the way TAPS does it is it gives you a barcode automatically on the out-of-sequence, so you can actually scan those and update them if necessary. Most of the time when you've got out-of-sequence work, it's because someone forgot to update the previous activities, or alternately, they've changed the logic out in the field. So if it's the first instance, it's very easy to go and rescan those activities and progress them. Do you still have to update barcode fonts in Windows? Yes, you do. If you're going to run TAPS Classic, as I call it, which is the barcode version, you do need to have barcode fonts installed in your computer. We do provide those. There's no cost for those. But if you're in a really locked down environment, they do need to be installed on your computer. And they also need to be installed on the Citrix server if you're using the Citrix environment as well. But they're just standard fonts, and that's how we create the barcodes. All right. Are there any other questions that we can answer? Last chance for people to put questions in the chat or in the questions section. All right. So if you do think of any questions, or you think of anything that you'd like to discuss, or you'd like to see in more detail exactly how TAPS works or how it might work in your environment, please feel free to reach out to us. Our contact information is here. Mary Lynn's email is here as well. So you can send her an email and talk about your situation and what you're looking for. There's also on our website at emerald-associates.com, there's also some videos, and Shannon will make this presentation available to everybody. As I said, thanks for joining us, and feel free to reach out to us if you do have any questions. And with that, have a great day and stay safe, and we hope to hear from you soon.